come to talk? Alright. What gave it away? This rugged face or my tired gaze? Crossing those valleys will give you both. Ah, little blind girl and her clingy bodyguard, right? They're a couple now? Didn't seem to give that impression on their way here. Ah, I digress. Going to make a return journey through that rocky maze once I've got all the wares for my eager clients in the east, and I'm short of a bodyguard myself. The fool who escorted me here got himself lost in the wilds somewhere, staggering from the inn in a drunken stupor. Thought about tying him to the wagon until he came to his senses, yet ultimately, if you're going to put your life in someone's hands, then it better be someone you trust. Alright. I'm desperate, you see. Happy now? I just need a body to take the hits in case we get into any trouble. Which we won't, of course. Don't worry, I'll be paid handsomely. That is, if you don't drop the venture halfway through and push through to the end. Don't want to blow the wind out of your sails, but this is the east of High Rock, worlds apart from the west. Don't want you to be getting any false impressions of us Breton folk from the, people you meet down there. There I go rambling again. Get aboard. New lands await. Hope you brought your own rug. That hardwood's gonna be a real pain later on. Don't get too comfortable though. Still need a blade ready for when the road gets rough. Damn, we're on the doorstep of the kingdom, yet the gods ordain that we stumble across trouble now? What a farce. Look over there! The man's gasping for life! I'm not going any further until you find out what's going on. Hey now, I'm just a merchant! I try to avoid spilled blood. Besides, what else am I paying you for? Well, my previous ventures haven't seen much spilled blood, save for a passenger getting leery with another, though my route is one of the safer paths of travel. I have to pick up the pace through certain stretches. I've bandits and the like springing traps from above on any uncaring traveller making their way to the province. Once we reach the easternmost part of Evermore, then we should be safe. Got the guard there meting out justice with an iron fist. Scoundrels should stay well clear. Most of the time, anyway. Well, don't want to startle you, as I do need an extra blade, but we've got a problem with these savages north of Evermore. They like to call them witchmen. Not sure if that's what the savages call themselves, but we'll stick with it. See, rumours are stirring that these witchmen are getting agitated. Sporadic attacks all across the kingdom made the wilds near impossible to dwell in because of their savagery. But that's a problem you'll have to deal with once you reach the kingdom, not on your way there. So don't fret about the journey itself, you'll be fine. Evermore's renowned most of all for its colourful cast of characters and deviants. You'll run the gamut of Bretonnic experience in that cluster of man. First settlement you'll come across, considering you stay the course once you depart from a wagon, is the Divide, a hulking bridge jutting out from its watery locale. Standing atop that stony juggernaut will grant you a vista of the Reach's mires and towns, most notably Arnima, and if you squint hard enough, Evermore itself. Semantics, eh? Evermore is the city and the kingdom, where the city itself beats as the heart and centre of our royal affairs. The place where the Reach consolidates its authority and, well, reach over the east. Used to be a backwater not too long ago, the Eastern Hinterland Kingdom. Yet recent times have spoiled the city with inordinate wealth and power. Power that they've used to conquer and subjugate their comparatively less civilized neighbours. Now any Breton dwelling east of the city's walls sports their banner. You'll see it on your arrival. Nothing pleasant, I assure you. Most outside their miserable sty consider it to be a stain on the kingdom, with good reason. Most of the guards are nothing but thugs looking to shake down us humble merchants when given the chance, and they routinely terrorise those unfortunate sods that don't have the means to leave. All governed by that strange character, Mortephane. Lord Mortephane, to be correct. Never call a lord by his name. Heard tales of sordid acts and strange punishment disseminated upon those beneath him, who weren't wise enough to escape. Most of these tales smacked of madness. Most I simply ignored because they're hard to imagine happening within any civil residence. I never risked finding out for myself. Town dampers the mood, which isn't good when you're travelling on your lonesome. Reminds me, I actually have to pass by that decaying dump. Got a client right within their walls. Hopefully the guards are knockout drunk, as usual. They're meanest when they're sober. And, don't blame me if you see this wagon halfway to the horizon upon hearing your screams. I have to protect my interests. Come on, honey. We're almost there. Have all the hay you want.
Those witchmen in the tower, they ambushed us when we were changing shifts. Won the Divide. Get them to send men, please.
seals us. The king will have it. The maggots fall. Mother bliss.
All right? No, friend. Not forsworn. Witchmen. Thought I told you about these devils already? Trust me, these aren't the type you want to be ignorant about. If you treat them like you would any common scoundrel hounding for your coin purse, then the next sight you'll be seeing is that of your gods. Bastards coat their blades and arrows with this vile poison. A resin so foul it can condemn giants to an agonizing death with nary a brush. Not sure how you came out of that alive, to be honest. You're tougher than you look. Really? That's hard to believe. These scum are a whole new low for the Reachmen. Carving up man, woman, child and babe alike in their hideous rituals. Sadistic artists. How they play with the bodies they harvest and hoist them in that dense woodland north. Foul. Simply foul. Spoiled my mood. At least you've made it back. I was about to do one, had you spent any longer up there. You shouldn't. The divide is within spitting distance. If you keep to the road, you should arrive there without harm. Unless you take a detour, that is. That's where my almighty prescience ends and the uncertainty begins. And as we know, ignorance pays. My clients are probably waiting with bated breath, taken long enough to get here already. I'll need to skip on any indulgences on that bridge and head straight to Arnima. However, you should speak with the governor up there, Morosa. Frumpy little woman, but don't tell her I said that. She'll normally be within the temple, sparing a prayer for our mutual mother. Mara, you fool! If there's one god you should know in the Reach, then it's her. The people don't take kindly to those who know not about her grace. I'll see you around, friend. Give my thanks to Morosa for keeping this road so safe.
Hey now. You finished with your business here? You shouldn't waste other people's time. We'll meet again.
Need something?
Hold up. Haven't seen you up here before. What's your business? Witchman? Bloody Mara. Never thought they would get this close. Okay, you can go through to Morosa. Tell her everything. For the sake of the Reach. Keep safe.
Heard the news from Skyrim? They say that Ulfric was captured and killed.
He wasn't killed. A dragon came to rescue him.
A dragon? You're mad, brother. Besides, dragons hate us.
What beast, stalking on its hind legs, treads such a perilous trail to me? Oh, a sensible denizen. You must heal from the wolves of men. Thus, your spirit is one with the fox. Now speak true. What takes you to me? Hircine cast his great bone down to Nirn for me to follow. It landed here, and I heeded his call. Roots gestated in the embers of the bone's fall, splitting the outer layer, finding air and sky. The tree reveals this tale, lest you believe I lie, for fox I am not. Progeny, his grasp slipped, and has fallen to that nether world below the eyes. He stands at the interim between life and death, restless, lost. I seek to have this nomadic spirit, yet to be, retreat from that aimless path. He needs to find home, to find the bosom of his mother. Yet omens have taken to his scent, ravenous in their prowl. They seek the spirit flesh of he, my son, the unsunned. The beast god's trials are cruel. You wish to be swallowed into the beast god's great game. The beast god rewards those who triumph over his schemes. Generous are his gifts. In your path yet to be, a hunt harrowing is the trial which steams this black feast. Hounds of hunger, numbering 3, fester the land with their ruin. These are the omens that you must hunt. These are the omens that chain my son. The beast god blinks. His eyes are now mine. He watches above. He knows the image of this map well. And he sees the omens. Here they lay. The eyes return. Now, hunter, I wish you swiftness in this pursuit. Tread lightly. Have words?
Hmm?
the world fades. I love a challenge. Over here. Smear, you won't leave here alive. Smear, you won't leave here alive. Fresh news for the hardy folk of the Divide. Horrific doom befalls the hamlet of Sabbath, torn to shreds by vile magic. It has been overtaken by death, or should I say, undead. A merchant arrives from Skyrim, bringing news of a slaughter at the Imperial Watchtower to the east. No survivors. More and more ships trouble the waters of Gillick Bay every day.
Hey, new face. Do me a favor, will you? Please, I'll make it worth the trouble. Sorry, my lord. I meant no offense. Don't think nothing of it. Sometimes I yearn for those simpler times, where a cold winter was the worst of our concerns. Returning to those days with a rake in hand rather than a sword.
Nostalgia, sir, nothing but. The dull and stagnant are twin. This life, yet fortune favours those in your craft. The potential of knighthood.
Pardon my blasphemy, but that title would hold water in any other kingdom. Those recently knighted, vagabond scoundrels, all of a mirror to the decadence of our capital, wouldn't you say? Not much virtue in culture and tradition when coin brings a more immediate relief from our mutual mortal turmoil.
You wanted to speak of Watervane. I've heard the news from the council that his seat in Anima may be put into question.
You heard correct, because he and his guards are demanding more gold from the merchants, while also becoming more aggressive. No better than thugs. And that little lord does nothing but encourage it. I despise that unsightly man. Every conversation with him is extremely unpleasant.
Don't mug me off!
Look who's I don't want to die!
Going places, wrecking faces.
I have a missionary within the temple down there. He shares
Hey now.
whispers with me on it. If you need consoling on this, you only need to ask. If I may beg my pardon, I shall return to servicing this temple.
Very well. Make a prayer that nothing terrible arises from this disorder. It's good to have the gods listening in times like this. Have we arranged a meeting, or is it your intent to address nobility lacking proper decorum? Speak quickly, lest you rile my temper. Oh, a harbinger of grim news. Not the best first impression. Well, thank you for telling me in advance of my own guards. It was only a matter of time before they spilled further east. Pardon the introduction, yet understand the need for it. We can't have any wandering yokel approach royalty like they're of the same stock. It's not good for the kingdom's image. We'll have the guard there as soon as possible. But for you, are you interested in some coin? We need someone to talk to us. Nothing more pleasing to a mercenary than gold. From your mannerisms, I'll make the sound assertion that you're not versed with High Rock itself, and probably lack knowledge of this realm. However, you will come to know the kingdom's people in short time, as our stone walls all but separate the encroach of savage from civilized. Yes, well, onto the matter. To the east of this bridge lies the town of Ornima. formerly Raven Spring, lest you run into a resident whose mind is stuck in bygone years, can get confusing, much like everything else in this land. Within Arnima, you will find Jakos, who trains the scout detachment there. He's the only man that I somewhat trust, who's not completely beholden to his lord. Ask him about rumors. Tell him that I sent you. He should understand your intent. We've conducted affairs before. A simple nod from him will be more than enough information for you to infer. You don't need to know any further than that. Now, off you go. Earn a small fortune for yourself. I heard Evermore has many an opportunity to entertain your proclivities. On the stipulation of coin, mind you. Such coin that will be available on your return. I assume you're new to the Reach and haven't become acquainted with anything further than this bridge, so a brief lesson in geography is in order. Just beyond the southern gate of the settlement lays Sabbath, a town recently ravaged by a mage that was still sniffing out. However, our search was impeded from the risen dead that malcontent left in their wake. It's a possibility, yet I'm not staking any more men on a hope. We're but a fledgling town when it comes to arms. Our guard exists for immediate defense, not to be used in any failed excursion. I'm no expert nor historian, but what I can tell you should be the same that every Reach man would recite when speaking of those savages. Accounts state that this new incarnation of the Witchman appeared near 2 decades back, just after the incident at Munstor. You haven't heard of it either. I feel like I'll be going over the history of every blade of grass in the Reach. I digress. Munstor was an abandoned fort far to the north that has since succumbed to its frozen locale. Peasants, serfs, and other seditious souls had made a great exodus under the cover of night, all leaving their fields, abandoning the lords they were sworn to serve. Of course, when all your labor, thus wealth, absconds in but a moment, there will be tremors. So the lords had sent men to trail these wayward workers all the way to Munstor. What they saw was an ostensibly bizarre affair, both witchmen and peasants forming a decadent commune, many turning to layabouts who engaged in petty pleasures and shirking the labor that had made them. I see you're not one for absorbing the finer details of a conversation. This was before they had all turned feral. Not to say they weren't savage before, but that former identity was ultimately harmless, unlike those you see now. The lords eschewed violence at first, instead opting to subvert the commune, freeing their scum and exiles northward, with the condition that they go live in Munstor. The hope was that the delusional dreamers of that town would abandon their fickle want for equality once extreme personalities had entered their midst. To our utter astonishment, they didn't. These scum that would haunt our societies were either subsumed into the mix or blocked from entry. Leading many to evaluate the true intent of these radicals, we thought they were just pacifists who'd allow any and all into their ranks, which would spell doom for any gathering. Panic-stricken, many lords conspired, finally pushing for the siege that would be that commune's undoing. Cutting off food, digging extensive tunnels to both poison their wells and revealing more avenues for attack. Lastly, clear diplomacy, to impart some reason into those serfs, enough for them to return to civilization and abandon these naive ideals. The lords saw the beneficiaries within Munstor, a gathering of hag ravens who were prolonging the siege to impossible lengths. Then crumbs of discontent were found among the militia. Fear gripped the nobility that these ideas could spread to every serf. Nobility, not just from Evermore, but from all over High Rock, sent aid when they heard how severe the crisis was. all of High Rock seemingly united to crush this small town. Yet only a Luddite would think so simply. This was to crush an idea, a canker that'd undo the very world we haven. So the Lord's strength was honed into one blow, throwing all their might at those walls. They fell, and what mercy we would have spared upon those misguided serfs was instead replaced with conviction to stamp out a chaotic ideology. No. They, however, did. To the last man, woman, and child, a Pyrrhic victory in the truest sense. Evermore had lost half its serf class, yet the lords were elated that the existential crisis of revolution was averted. Exceptionally harsh measures were put in place for anyone that even uttered the commune's name, or who dared to evoke the same rebellious sentiments. And so that concludes the tale of Monstor. Almost lost myself in another tale. Maybe because that question isn't as easily answered. Bear with me, as what follows can drift into conjecture. Rumors from the nobility in that siege reported seeing figures watching the slaughter unfold in the town, neither part of the kingdom's militia or the defendants. Scouts were dispatched to see who the strange party was, and upon their return they displayed strange idols, with the scouts claiming them as gifts from those shady silhouettes, though their names or identities were never disclosed. Most of the nobility had discarded these charms immediately, except for that wretched Mortifane, who was enamored by that hideous amulet that still wrings his filthy neck. If I could tell you, then we'd already be halfway to a solution by now. But that's where my knowledge ends. I hope you enjoyed the tale. It's always a guilty pleasure to recite when the low-born are acting up. Farewell.
Stranger, fancy an extra blade to accompany you through the menagerie that is the Reach? Who said I'm not working for our mum as well? If it makes you feel any better, I spare a little prayer for every unfortunate bastard that happens to meet my axe. Besides, haven't you done just the same thing? Maybe poor of vision, but I ain't deaf. Always a spin, huh? Look, I ain't gonna knock you for earning a little extra
Mother
coin.
Mara, who could
Not
have
many
done
other
such a
options to
thing?
do so are on the Reach. Though if you're ever feeling down and you need a rough pauldron to cry on, then I'm your man. Though I've got a little problem with my legs. You see, they can't move unless I rub them with some coin. Say, 500 septums to be exact. So, will you help a poor old codger to walk again? Gold makes me a happy man. Now let's go bash some skulls before I bore my ass off. Bored of me already? Until we next meet then. Try and stay in one piece, savvy? Alright then. Got something on your mind? Alright then.
Make yourself busy.
Gonna make mincemeat out of you.
I'll chop you up slowly, make you watch.
I'll hang you from your entrails. Brother down. Kill this bastard.
Stupid wench, wasting such a good piece of ass. Don't mug me off.
Ah!